Reminder for everyone, please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. When speaking, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and speak loudly and clearly. And I would remind everyone of our document that we passed on November 2023 concerning the demeanor of the person speaking and how we will handle that. And there are copies on the sign-in table back there for anyone that would like to review it. So item number 1 is approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval.
Second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Passes 2-0. Approval of the meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025.
I'll move approval.
I second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Item number 3, approval of claims, and I would call on Shane Albrecht to review that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wick. There's 2 claims this month. First one is from Frederickson for $27,885.54. The second one is from Baker Group for the month of February for $32,013. The total of the claims is $59,898.54. Is there any questions?
I have one. I'll move approval.
We don't usually do,
Oh, we don't need approval of claims.
what? We don't usually have somebody speak during approval of claims. That's your guys' call.
All right. I move we approve the claims.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Who won it?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, item number 5 is discussion and action on VAVL 16A changes in the county attorney's space, and I would call on Shane Albrecht for that, please. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped the financial report. Call on Ryan Erickson for that, please.
My first time up here and you're already skipping me. So,
I apologize for that.
Ryan Erickson, Finance Director for Woodbury County. I have the financial report. If you want to.
Ron, would you have a motion to
Yes.
receive, please?
Yes, I make a motion that we receive the financial report.
Second.
All in favor, aye? Passes 2-0.
All right, the first page is the current fund balances for the various, taxable bonds, miscellaneous revenues, and the Justice Center maintenance. Second page shows the revenue and expenses. The one revenue item was there were interest earned on the Justice Center maintenance fund. And then the disbursements does not include anything that was authorized today. This is through yesterday's date. And the miscellaneous fund dispersed to the Baker Group, the Socotec Advisory, and Frederickson. And the maintenance fund had 2 bills for the Cornerstone commissioning. So the total for this period was just about $72,000.
Thank you. Any questions?
None.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Okay, now we'll move to item number 5, discussion and action on VAV L16A changes in the county attorney's office, and I will call on Shane Albrecht, please.
So basically, before you is what we kind of do for ratification. This is a thing that needs to be done. This is for Matt Metzger's office, 0065, down in the county attorney's space. It involves adding a new diffuser and getting more, and rebalancing the system to get more air into that as part of what was done by RCE and Introba to fix the colder temperatures in his office. So is there any questions on that?
I have none. Commissioner Moore?
None.
No other questions?
Yep. I'll move approval.
I'll second that. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Item number 6 on the agenda today is information and update on the LEC project. And again, I'll call on Shane Albrecht, please.
Yes, so we've had a number of things going on since our last meeting. We talked last meeting about some cold temperatures in part of the building. Resource Consulting Engineers and Introba have went through and looked at rebalancing or turning the airflows up. That includes areas in jail administration, includes the areas in the sheriff's office, county attorney's space, the courts. Of those, it looks like the courts area is going to need 2 new control valves, and we've got that information out to them for pricing to come, and we'll be bringing that before you guys as a cost in a future meeting. We also have out for pricing right now EUH2, which is the heater that's missing on the design from the vestibule. That's out for pricing. We also have a new reset strategy control control sequence. Basically, it's going to take the air handlers, and when it's 60 degrees outside, they're going to supply 55-degree air, which was what was designed by Introba. And then it's going to be a linear fall down to 0, where it's going to reset to 65 when it's 0 degrees outside, and that will happen automatically. And that will be for air handlers 1, 2, and 3. We do have some other things that we're looking at for like jail administration area. They have some air inflating through the windows right now, and we do have them looking at how those panels were installed to try to get that resolved. The roof, we had a schedule that they were supposed to start on that as early as this week. Because of the weather we had the previous week, they're saying the roofer was behind and not able to come on the 10th like they had said would be the earliest that they would come. The duration of that work right now is going to be 13 to 15 days. There is parts of that they will be doing at nights and on weekends over some of the occupied areas of the building. And we worked with Chief Wingard and Kenny Smith with Building Services to kind of approve their map of how they're going to walk through the building and all that stuff. I'm trying to think of what else we did this. We've done a number of things to get things moving forward. We've got out for pricing for Suter for a little bit better way to control AHU3. Right now, the return fans, we can't really tell based on the design documents, the airflow that's going across of them. We've added previously some flow stations to do some monitoring. They did not have all the ability we need, so there's a price out from Suter to come to get us that stuff. So most of the commissioning report has been complete, minus one set of freeze stats that's supposed to be finishing up on tomorrow. There also is some parts that had a five-week lead time from Train for some return fan dampers, things of that nature. As far as what we have left on our final completion document report, the pipe strapping on the roof has been checked off and is approved. Test and balancing, still have not seen the stuff from Introba or from RCE on that. Of course, the roof itself has to be done. The grading and stuff outside that needs to be complete, again, is the thing we're just gonna hold money for, as well as the painting on the fence. Those are the items that are left on the final completion report. Kevin, did I miss anything?
I think the only other thing I can think of, Shane, it looked like there was some additional work that had to be done to the seismic bracing on the fire sprinkler system this last week. I don't know what the full details of that are, but I think that's the submittals have been approved and returned back. So, but I know somebody was out there working on that this last week, I believe.
Yeah, so somebody was out working on seismic bracing, for everybody's knowledge, in the forensic bay, and out there, they were out last week. Caleb had somebody out on seismic bracing, doing that, Kevin, okay?
Okay, appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Nothing further.
Not for me, no. Thank you, Shane and Kevin. Item number 7 on our agenda today is public concerns.
I like that.
Mr. Chair, William Burrows, 4409 47th Street. I have two concerns, so do I get 3 minutes for each concern?
No, you get 3 minutes total.
But if somebody else answers, then that, I get
You may go ahead and speak and do your 3 minutes, and then we'll attempt to answer your
subtract out
questions.
okay, great. All right, the first one has to do with the approving the expense reports. There's no detail in this. So when you actually submit your bills, do you break it out? Because don't most lawyers bill by the hour? And Baker, do you break yours out? It just says here, jail project, $28,000. Jail project, $32,000.
Yeah, just to confirm what Chairman Wick said, so you'll continue your comments, I would continue on with comments and questions, and then at the end of your comments and questions, we'll address as appropriate.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yep.
fine. The other thing is, I'm hung up on the conflict of interest. Jody, you mentioned a couple different times along the way that there was no conflict of interest, but you never said who said that there was no conflict of interest. And I think that should be public knowledge. I don't know if Mr. Bittner's ready to comment on second opinion or not, but so that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, I would call on Jody to speak about the
Yeah,
conflict of
sure.
interest, please.
Yes, I do submit monthly bills. I bill in 0.1 increments, so I detail everything out that I perform. And so those invoices go to the authority, but they don't go in the packet of information. And likewise, when Baker, now that Baker is going to bill on an hourly basis, they'll submit those same type of bills. Likewise, our bills from experts and our consulting mechanical engineer, those are all itemized bills that break out our time. On the conflict of interest question, I'm not sure I guess, in terms of if that question was addressed towards me, and that came up last meeting. So at the beginning of the representation, there was a waiver of conflict language and language that noted that I could only represent the authority assuming there were no conflicts with my other clients, which included Baker Group. And so that waiver of conflict language was in the engagement letter. And then I wanted to make sure there was no dispute between the Baker Group and the authority. So that was done. And actually, John Templer looked into that and felt satisfied as well on that piece. And
John.
Templer. And then to answer a question that either you or another citizen had brought up last time. So at the beginning, the authority had hired Brian Sobchak from Kansas City at the beginning to be their construction attorney. And then he called me in the summer of 2023 and said, hey, we actually need an Iowa lawyer to handle some urgent questions with closed meetings versus open meetings, confidential records versus public records. And so Brian was actually the one that called and asked if I could do the representation. So I got the list of parties. We cleared the conflict issue, and then because the matters were urgent, Ron, as chairman, signed off on that. And then within a week was the next meeting that the authority had. The engagement letter with the waiver language in there was presented to the authority. It was shown up on the screen, and at that point, all three members approved my retention as counsel for the authority. So that's just a more complete timeline of how that happened. So, thank you. Anything else from you two?
Well, and Bill, I can confirm that was what happened. This Brian Sobchak he's with a fine Kansas City law firm. That was representing the authority. And then, as Jody said, we were getting into Iowa-specific rules and regulations as far as construction law goes. And so he and Jody consulted. And Jody's firm, Frederickson and Byron, they're probably one of the finest construction law firms in the state of Iowa, top-notch, and they do great work. And Jody was the one that also brought up the conflict question, because what happens, good lawyers will, if somebody wants me to represent you, good lawyers will send a conflict check and say, here's who Bill Burrow's adversaries are. Do you have any conflicts? And that step was taken. It was a very thorough check from what I reviewed from our last meeting, because I went to my files and checked it as well. So everything is really good. It's really running well. The other thing to keep in mind, and Jody, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we also have to be careful on itemized billings at this point in time, because we're at a crossroads with making our claims, figuring out what our damages are, and pursuing that, which everybody's been anxious to hear and to know. And you have to make sure there's nothing in the statements. I mean, I imagine the other side, the other parties that might be involved in any kind of claim would probably be listening and checking everything we do in the meantime to use whatever they can against us. So we want to be careful there, and I think that's part of the reason, Bill. It's nothing, everything's on the up and up. I've known Jody McDougall for about 20-plus years. I know she's one of the finest construction law lawyers, ethical, and very careful about what she does. So the authority is in good hands. Baker Group, same thing. Sometimes you might hear me, I'll leave the other two out of it for now, but sometimes you might hear me challenging Baker Group about something that they're advising us on. Well, all families have discussions. Some are nice discussions, some are heated, some are questions of, do we really know what direction we're headed here? So if that comes up for me, it's because I've got the confidence and trust in Baker Group to answer it straight on. And they've done that over these past several months. We still have a ton of work cut out ahead of us. And like I said, we're just at the crossroads right now, and I don't want to do anything that would cause extra cost to the taxpayers if we don't do it right and handle the case right. And that's why, as a lawyer, I will rely on lawyers that I can trust and that I know they're giving us the best advice possible. And I just wanted you to know that, Bill, because you and I have known each other for a long time, and I appreciate your input. A lot of times it makes me think, and I think, okay, Bill might have a good point. I might have to call Bill and say, I'm not sure I agree with you on this one. But that's why I wanted to explain it a little further, at least from my standpoint as an authority member.
Thank you. Any other public concerns?
How you doing? Connor Trett, KTIV News 299 Signal Hill Drive. I had a couple of clarifying questions I wanted to maybe just kind of ask you guys while I got you here. It was concerning the temperatures going on in the law enforcement center where there's issues with heat. What are the current kind of conditions like in those areas that were affected a couple of weeks ago? Have there been any kind of major improvements made, or what's kind of the state of those areas right now?
Get both questions from him.
I mean, I kind
Do
of.
your other question.
Yeah,
Oh, the other okay.
Yeah, we want to be consistent. We've decided to, and Bill, we try to explain this. We try to have the public spend their 3 minutes on questions. We'll take notes on what the questions are and then follow up with answers.
Okay.
And that way you're not getting shorted 3 minutes, or if you ask me a 30-second question, I give you a 4-hour answer. It doesn't cut into the 3 minutes that you have.
Gotcha. Well, I appreciate that. Okay. So the other questions I had were, what is being done in the meantime if there are, still issues going on with the heating, with the temperature? Is this affecting the inmates as well who are staying there, or is it just the administration side? If you guys have received any sort of complaints from inmates on this, if that is the case where it's affecting any of them. And also the working on the roof, I was just kind of curious as to who specifically is going to be working on the roof, who's being contracted for that, and if there was like a more specific date as to when that work is going to be started. You did say this week, but I was just kind of curious if you had like a day nailed down. Those are kind of the main questions that I was hoping to ask you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Connor.
Shane, if I could call on you for that, please.
Yes, so let's deal with the roof first. So White Castle is the company that Hausman has. Since it's warranty work, White Castle will be coming back to do that. The latest, I'll get an update tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Latest update that I had got was they could be here as early as Monday, which they said they didn't think they would because of the snow and stuff that happened. So it should be happening soon. I do not have anything concrete because I have not heard.
Was that Monday like this past Monday?
Monday, March 10th.
But because of the weather.
Because of the weather on the Wednesday previous, okay?
Did you want to give an update just on the county attorney space and what conditions are like?
Yeah, I was just doing one, I was just doing them
Yep.
one at a time.
Yep.
Only I started from the back and going forward.
Yep.
Your next question, and you would have to ask some of the experts that are sitting here in the room, but when I was looking at the computer, even during the cold temperatures, our cell areas did not get below 71 degrees. It was all exterior spaces. The jail administration, they had areas that were in the 60s, okay? But they all have exterior walls that they're exposed to. Sheriff's office had spaces in the 60s. County attorneys had some colder spaces, but the other spaces were in the 50s. As I didn't maybe do a good job explaining last time, this is an issue when the temperatures hit 0 and below. Since that time, we have not had the 0 and below degree temperatures. We could have to ask Director Smits to be exact, but I don't feel we've had any, because of the warmer temperatures, we haven't had the problems with the heat. Final question was, what was being done with the different spaces, basically? So basically, it warmed up outside right now, but we have made some changes to the air handler strategy. That's what I was talking about for reset strategy. So by design, they were supposed to have 55-degree air blowing out. A VAV box is like a furnace. It has hot water coils going through it. It heats that air up from 55 degrees to, let's just say 90. It differs depending on the space. We changed, and we now supply 65-degree air so that the box has a better chance of being able to warm the air up. We also, as I said during the thing, we're working on changing some airflows in the different offices. By increasing the airflow across the coil, you will get the space warmed up quicker.
On the roof. Did you already talk about?
I did the roof first.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Shane. Any other public concerns? Hearing none, I move to item number 8 on the agenda today, Authority Board member concerns.
I just want to remind our chair that in 2 weeks on our next meeting, we'll have the vending machines on that agenda for approving the consent of putting the vending machines in the law enforcement center. And Judge Todd, if you'd please pass that on to Judge Court, I'd greatly appreciate it. The wheels are in motion for accomplishing that.
Yes, I did approve that today, and it will be on the agenda at the next meeting.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
yep,
Thank you, appreciate
good.
that. That's all I have.
thank you. I have none others. Move on to item number 9, closed session with Frederickson and Byron Law Firm under Iowa Code Chapter 21.51C. I move that we go into closed session.
Second?
Roll call vote, please.
Wick,
Aye.
Moore,
Aye.
Nelson absent.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yes.